Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being on time. We are going to get started right away because, wow, we have a
If you
lot to
call
go
me,
through today,
yeah,
and
she
it's going to be
call
amazing.
me sister to something. Yeah.
I'm going to ask all of you to unmute.
Okay, can you mute? Can you mute them?
Yes.
There you go.
Some of the microphones aren't coming up. Anyways, thank you for joining us. We are in week 3 out of 8. So today we are going on a journey with Vanessa Bell around digital marketing. She has put together an amazing presentation with a lot of information. We gave her an impossible task of covering very high level email marketing, websites, social media, SEO, and she's managed to put it all together. I would imagine this was going to be pretty fast paced. Just know that we are recording this. The recording and the slide deck will be shared with you in that box folder probably this afternoon, so that you can go back and review on your own time. Really quickly around Q&A. Like I said, we may not get time for a proper 15-minute Q&A, but I don't want that to stop you from asking your questions. So chat is open. You can drop your questions in the chat. You can drop it directly to me. What I'll do is I'll collect those questions and then I'll connect with Vanessa and we'll try and get those answers to you via email. Just checking my notes. I think that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead, turn it over to you, Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. And there's one more there. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here and do this presentation for you. And as I was just discussing with Yinting, it's a bit packed. There's a lot of information. It's high level. I can't sort of dig in too much. Every one of these topics could be its own workshop. So just remember that. And go back to the recording afterwards, slow it down, pause, stop, do what you need to do to make some notes. And yes, you can follow up, send questions in the chat or to Yinting, and I'm going to help respond to those. If I don't have time at the end of this, then certainly later. And I'll put my contact deets up at the end if any of you want to reach out to me. So with that, let me start sharing the screen. Can everyone see that? Yep. Can you see it, Yinting? Yeah, good.
Yep.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, my name's Vanessa Bell, and I've been in the business of design and marketing across many different industry sectors for almost 30 years. And for the last 15, I've operated my own business, focusing on helping entrepreneurs and small businesses and nonprofits establish a strong visual foundation, mostly through branding, marketing, website design. I'm also co-producer and a strategy advisor for TEDx Asheville, which I love. And then on the side, I have a heart project. I'm co-founder of a small grassroots organization called Hadaya, which means gifts in Arabic. And we partner with other small NGOs on the ground where there are large concentrations of refugees and displaced children. And we've worked in most of the Middle East and Greece, Nepal, Nigeria, and India. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell. So here's what we're going to be covering today, mostly about an overview of websites, SEO, social media, email marketing, and there will be, pointers and tips and tricks and things for you to take note of throughout all of it. And all of that encompasses digital marketing basics. So that's what we're going to go to dig into right away, is digital marketing basics. And sorry, I lost my notes for a second. So digital marketing basics, also called online marketing, is the promotion of your brand or your organization to connect with potential customers, basically through the internet and other forms of digital communication. So that would be email newsletters, social media, web-based advertising, could be texting, multimedia, all these different channels. So before you start digging into action items, I like to go through some mindset items because these are really important. It's a mindset, marketing. It's not just the things that you do, it is your mindset. You have to get your brain into what makes sense. It's an extension of you as the business owner or the organization leader. It's you sharing your passion, and how you share that, how you tell the story. It's you or your organization's contribution to the world, how you serve your community, and being really clear about that, and your customer service. I also want to remind you that it's not a race. Marketing is always, always, always about building a relationship. And, the forms that we use today in a year's time or 5 years time are probably going to change. And so, just realize that keeping up with every new technology is almost impossible. Unless that's your gig and you're really into it, but it's tough to and challenging to keep up with them all as well as run your nonprofit. That much I do know. So this piece is also really important. Results matter, but so does the process. So don't get so fixated on the results. And remember to celebrate your small wins, because it's those that will keep you going when you get overwhelmed with all the things that you have to do. So, and to remember that you aren't perfect and you won't ever be. I think these are just really, really obvious. I think I just discussed that the tools we used are constantly evolving. So, don't feel like you have to be an expert in everything. Think about it as a learning experience rather than oh my God, all the things I have to do in marketing. Like, oh, maybe I'll learn something new here. Maybe I can challenge myself to do something. Not even the professionals know it all. And that is so true because it's an ever-changing world. So just to stay easy on yourself. And you have to learn while you do, for sure. And just, remind yourself that you don't have to be perfect. None of it has to be perfect. Preparing is a big part of it, and we'll talk about that as we get into it. Don't work alone. Get opinions from people you trust. Use their feedback, but don't base your entire marketing, decisions on because you're going to get a different opinion from everyone that you talk to. So you could end up doing this, zigzagging all over the place rather than staying focused on your path of, hey, I want to achieve this. So it's important to get opinions just so that you don't feel alone in that process, but it doesn't mean that you always have to act on those opinions and change your path. So we are going to talk about your audience first. This is the very first key area in any marketing, any marketing that you do anywhere, whether it's social media or on your website or anything else. You have to understand your audience, particularly as a nonprofit. And you're going to have multiple audiences, which we'll discuss in the next slide. So spend some time researching and understanding your audiences. This should be a priority for every piece of communication that you use, so that you're like, for instance, how you talk to your best friend is different than how you would talk to your dad, let's say. Or, think about the voice that you use, how not just the language, but so understanding your audiences is going to be really key. You want to reach the right audience with the right message. So you need to do research, you need to identify them. And so let's explore, and this is going to be key to creating content that particular audience will respond to, will hear. Again, it could be tone of voice, could be language, it could be what things that they want, don't want. So let's explore some audiences. Oops, excuse me. Oh, hang on a second. I've lost you. There it is. So the obvious is going to be your, what happened?
You're good. We see the multiple audiences slide.
It's saying that my screen has been paused. I don't quite know what happened.
Can you move it?
Can you see another slide now?
No, I cannot.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. Um,
Do you want to stop sharing and then share again?
I'm going to try again. Sorry, folks. I don't quite know what happened there. So let's come back to this slide.
Yep, we got it.
Oh, it's working now. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Not sure. Technical difficulties, even for those of us who do this on a regular basis. So your core group is your obvious one. This is your organization's target group and mission. And this is the group that you're likely to know the most about and be clear on. But you also have donors or patrons, whatever you want to call them, knowing who those are. What do you know about them? Once they become a donor, what are you doing to maintain that connection and engagement? And how are you talking to them? Your social media followers. These are your, again, potential customers or donors, real people with real lives and needs. And so thinking about who they are, what their basic demographics are, what are they into? What do they read, or who do they follow? Because you might want to follow the same people in order to talk to them at some point. Getting this information will let you know how best to communicate with them. And don't forget the media. The media is also a group, because if you're in a nonprofit, you're going to need to be doing PR at some point. So do some digging on the publications, journalists and reporters that you might want to contact, who might be interested or invested in your field, in your area, in your organization. So just, doing a little bit of work on those, work on building a relationship with them. And you're only going to want to send them content that they will engage with their audience. I thought this was a really interesting fact that only 20% of most nonprofits know who their peers or donor competitors are and what they're doing. So again, do your research on your peers and competitors. Who are they? What are their key messages? How are they perceived? What works for them? What doesn't? Where do they typically market? What publications and media are they in? It's all important research. So the second key area is authenticity. We have audience, once you've identified those, and now authenticity. So at all levels of society, people are expecting greater levels of humanity, understanding, and honesty from their leaders, from their business owners and organizations. So you have to be genuine and engaged in your communications. When all of that aligns, so does the sense of purpose. So authenticity is everything. Consumers are inundated with content, and the only way brands can cut through that, brands, when I say brands, I mean brands or organizations. So the only way you can cut through that is with authentic content. So what does it mean? An organization can be authentic only when it knows who it is and what characteristics make it distinctive, because there are multiple nonprofits perhaps doing similar work. What sets you apart? That's what you want to know. And when the people in your organization understand why these features are meaningful, they're going to be able to communicate the same message. So you need to understand what you're striving to create in this world. What's the sense of purpose that goes beyond what you offer? An organization is authentic when its actions, its character, and its sense of purpose are aligned with and support each other. And again, this stuff, even you might be like, oh yeah, we know that, but like reviewing that on a regular basis is really important so that you understand how you're communicating about your nonprofit. You want to be really clear about that. So that brings us to communication, of course, being clear, compelling, all of these other words. If you search Google for communications, you get everything from telecommunications to couples counseling. The truth is that everything you do or don't do communicates a message to your audience, whether it's those you serve, your volunteers, your donors, the media, or even the government. When people talk about your nonprofit, what do you want them to know and say? You want them to know that you're solid, trustworthy, authentic. You want them to say that you're doing so much good in the world, how could folks not support you? Or you bring so much value to the community that we must support you. And how you achieve that is being in alignment with your mission and consistent in your messaging. So think of the most important points, typically no more than 3, that you want any audience to understand about your organization. These are your core messages, and they should relate to who you are and why you exist. And they should be reinforced in one way or another in all of your communications. Remember, keep it simple and keep it consistent. Oops, it keeps doing that, sorry. So that brings us to the third area, action. Now you understand who you need to reach, what they want to hear, and how you need to communicate. So now what? How do you leverage these resources that you do have and maximize the potential for storytelling and building those important relationships? Well, your number one channel for doing that, storytelling, updates, data, information, is your website. It all starts with that. Everything emanates from it, and everything should lead back to it, full circle. So make sure your site is relevant, authentic, and visually compelling. And maybe you need to update your branding. That's another piece of it. The second key area would be your blog or email marketing. Not everybody has a blog. These are also primary sources of sharing with multiple audiences, your donors, your fans, the media, especially if you take time to segment and create tags and categories, and we'll talk about that a little later in email marketing. It should also be visually stimulating and provide emotional engagement. That piece I can't stress enough. People are not going to buy, donate, or connect or make a purchase, a transaction in any way unless there's an emotional connection. So that's really important. Also, if you want to share if you do have a blog, you want to share it from your website to social media sites or to an email newsletter, and also potentially accompany it with video, which is key right now. Huge, one of the biggest growths, all of which links back to your website. So have things come from your website and lead back to the website. And then, of course, last but by no means least is your social media presence. And we'll dive into more of that further into the presentation. So the next piece we're going to talk about is putting together your marketing toolkit. And I like to define a marketing toolkit as a custom set of marketing platforms, materials, guidelines, and resources that help keep your business consistent and on brand and visible in the right areas for your customers. And these tools and strategies are going to be unique and specific to your organization's needs. And a lot of the time, less is more. In fact, that's my first big tip for getting started. Simple is better, less is more. It's that old acronym KISS, keep it super simple. So definitely focus on that. Here are some examples of marketing tools. We've got email newsletters, posting to social media, putting up flyers and posters. Could be old school advertising in magazines, newspapers, local calendars, subscription platforms, all of those things. There's a lot of free resources and platforms out there. So my suggestion is to start with the free tools. And once you grow beyond those limits, then move up to the paid platforms. And so this is my first real action step for you and tip is part of your marketing toolkit is put it all in one place, basically. So create a folder in your Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever you use at your nonprofit or wherever you and your staff can easily access it. And in there, you're going to put in everything related to marketing. You're going to put in there your logos, your images, whether there's a stock or, purchased photography sessions, documents, other content, and also create a running note of written content. And I've got one and it's like, 40 pages at this point because I've been just adding to it over the years. So just keep adding written content that could be social media blurb. It could be, hey, I need to really change up the About Us page on my website. And so put it in this document, keep it in the document because you can always search within the document. And it might be that content that you wrote 2 years ago there might be a snippet of that that is relevant to today, or hey, I could rework that and use that now for my social media content. And so like I highly recommend keeping one running document of all of your content. Or you could, if you really want to break it up into documents, you could have one that's website, one that's social media, one that's email newsletters, you know, that kind of thing. But keep them all together and keep the old stuff too, because when you're faced with like, oh my God, what am I going to post this week? And you're like pulling your hair out with a blank page, you've got something to go back to. Hey, I used this a couple years ago. I'm just going to rework this. So it's a really great tip. And then eventually you're going to want to create a schedule or a calendar identifying, you know, what your goals are for how often you're posting and where and that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the social media piece. So website development. This is obviously going to be a critical piece of your toolkit. It needs to be clean, attractive, responsive, and above all, tell your story in a clear visual way. Writing your website content can seem like a daunting task, especially if you're taking time to build your own website and you've never done it before. So in order to turn your writing of the website content into a clear and efficient process, you have to understand the structure of a website and begin preparing content to fit into the various areas of your website. So that brings us to content planning. The first thing that you want to do is create an outline of what you want people to be able to navigate to or engage with on your site. And this is essentially a list of pages that you want people to easily find and visit. Keep it simple, clear, easy to follow. Also, try to keep them to 1 or 2 words maximum. If these are going to be in your navigation at the top, you know, don't have like 4 or 5 words, because that's going to really mess with your navigation at the top and make it look super messy. So once you've got this outline, now you can begin to outline what you want to say and talk about on each of those pages. It's just all about breaking it down so that it's not so overwhelming to you. The other thing I highly recommend is take stock, take inventory of any other content that already exists out there. And I bet you already have some. There's probably a flyer from, you know, a couple years ago, perhaps, or an old website that you could pull content from and rewrite and refresh. Could be other marketing materials. It could be that there was a piece on your nonprofit in a magazine or the newspaper. You know, copy the content, put it into your content document so you can always go back to it. Excuse me. People forget this, but it's actually kind of an important and an easy thing to do, is take inventory of anything that's already been out there. It's a lot easier to edit and rework, you know, content that you've already got than starting with a blank page, or at least I find it is. Oops. Once again, coming back to your audience for your website specifically, think about who's going to be reading this content. Think about what problems you're solving for your audience. This is where, as I said earlier, you have to tap into some kind of emotional connection. You know, what is it that you're doing to solve in people's lives or the community or that kind of thing. Think about encouraging how you're going to encourage people to donate, because really fundraising and donations is what every nonprofit needs in order to survive. So remember that it's always an emotional connection. This one's important. What makes you unique? First, best, only, something like that. Have an answer for that, because you can work a lot of content around that. So when it comes to content writing, definitely want to work on it before you start building anything, any website or anything. I also highly recommend not using great long blocks of text. You don't want to be writing an essay as you would write for school or a newspaper article. You want short paragraphs, punchy paragraphs with headings and subheadings. So anyone who visits the page can easily scan through that written content and understand the main points. most people do scan website pages. And I think the, if I remember correctly, the stat is you have maybe 3 to 4 seconds to indicate to people on your, certainly on your homepage, who you are, what you do, and what you're offering, and encourage them to look further, to dig deeper into the website. So it's really a few seconds worth. So if you've got a great long paragraph of text that's really not meaningful to your organization and they've read that, then you've lost them already. Being conversational when you write, that's important. Avoid words and phrases that sound overly formal or confusing. Most people who read a website want to feel as if someone's talking to them, someone who's relatable. So be relatable. You don't want to sound too robotic or generic either. Grammar and punctuation is important, but if your brand, and this is not necessarily going to apply to a nonprofit, but for a specific person who's branding themselves as a business, let's say, if their brand is okay using slang and emojis and hashtags and other modern forms of communication, then they should use that on the website because it's an expression of who they are. And so, you know, be an expression of who you are as an organization, but you have to get clear about that first in order to communicate about that. So, you know, you want to build empathy for your customers, particularly, and express the value of your service, of what you're offering, because down, you know, further into that website exploration, you're going to be asking them to donate, and so that part's important. Keywords, you can see here is a couple of things I recommend using: Answer the Public and SEO reviewtools.com. So definitely doing some research on keywords that apply to you and your nonprofit specifically. And you're going to want to use those keywords, which we'll discuss in your headings and URLs, all kinds of things. This is one of the biggest factors for SEO, which is search engine optimization, is using the correct header tags here, as well as using keywords in those header tags. So you can see here this H1, H2, H3. When Google visits a site and, you know, does all the checking of what's on that page, it's going to look for an H1 first, and then an H2, and then an H3, and then an H4, and then P1 is paragraph. For a paragraph, paragraph 2, and so on down. It's got a hierarchy. Now, if your headings are all over the place and you've got, let's say, a big heading up front on your banner on your website, but it's actually labeled on the back end as an H4, Google is not going to go view that first. It's going to go view that H1 that's further down the page. And so you definitely don't want that. You want to be really clear when you're building that you use this hierarchy, use this structure correctly. They're also going to be searching for keywords that are relevant to your site, to your organization. So using those perhaps in your URLs, using those in your headers, using those in your navigation buttons, how you navigate the menu, things like that are going to be super important. This is a whole class that could, you know, I could spin off, but we don't have time for that. So I'm just trying to hit the salient points for you at this point. This is a key. This is really important. The URL. Does everyone know what I'm talking about when I say a URL? It's the domain name that goes in that bar at the top. Not the domain name. It's the domain name plus anything else that comes after it. For instance, my domain name is vbelldesign.com here. And so I'm going to make that page say websites, not blah, 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 F, blah, 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 9EE 32X. And people do that a lot on photographs, on images. They'll upload an image that says image, you know, 9475. So that doesn't help the search bots find out what that image is and how it relates with keywords to your site. So we're going to go into that in the next slide. Alt tags, like labeling your photos before you upload them, is really critical. Also, which we're going to get to, I'll back up for a minute. Let me finish this slide before I start jumping on. Having high quality relevant links from other websites. Let's say you've worked with another nonprofit, you did a project together. Make sure that you put some content up there about it. Make sure you link to their site in there, and hopefully they do the same. That would be an inbound link. Make sure you have outbound links to, to kosher organizations and stuff, and not spammy things. Definitely, because that will all count against you in your ranking. These are just a few basic SEO principles. Again, there could be a whole class on this, which I don't have time to get into. This is really important, as well as the H1 tags for SEO. So relevant title tags. You see the title tag here, best home gym equipment, and the strategist, that's the name of the business. And then there's a description, a meta description. So sometimes this is called meta title or title tag, and then meta description. You want to make sure you use, see, they've got highlighted here the words workout, equipment, and home gym. Those are keywords that people are looking for. People are looking for, hey, what kind of home gym equipment do I need to work out? They're going to search for that. And because you've used, this person has used all of those keywords in there, they're going to come up high in the ranking. So these things are super important. Here we go with the image and alt tags. So another key factor right now that is very, very important is accessibility. So for people who are who have disabilities, who are visually impaired or colorblind or other things like that. So alt tags, these are, you can see down here, see the URL is up here. This would be your domain / blah, 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 the name of this image. What is an alt? They've named it, what is an alt tag and how do you use it? And then they've added alt text. The alt text is important because let's say I'm blind, but I've got a system on my computer that will read images. So it will read everything on a web page, and it will come to an image, and it will say, if your tag for that image is 1 2 3 4 5, it's going to say image 1 2 3 4 5.jpg, and that person has no idea, because they're blind, what that image is. If there's an alt text tag, it's going to say, picture of man reading a book sitting on top of a mountain, let's say. And so that visually impaired person will be able to hear a verbal description of it, because it will be reading the alt text. And so accessibility is becoming more and more important these days on your website. Again, we could do a whole, couple of hours on that, I'm sure. The other key factor in websites are your CTAs, calls to action. What is a call to action? It's basically a request and an invitation on your website for someone to do something, to go somewhere else on the website, or to click a button to do something. And so being really clear about what you want your website visitor to do. Do you want them to scroll down and read the testimonials, or do you want them instantly to go to your product page, or do you want them to see a video that's on another page? All of these kinds of things. You can have multiple CTAs on a page, but I wouldn't put too many on one page, because then it can be confusing. What do you want the viewer to do first? Prioritize what they are and where you want them to go and what you want them to do, and think about the structure of your page. So here's some examples of calls to action. Could be, you could have them download a free PDF. Do you want them to sign up for your newsletter? Hey, subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll send you this free PDF on how to do XYZ, or something that's of value to them. So calls to action, CTAs, are a really integral part of a website today. And thinking about those ahead of time and what you want people to do will also help you plan out the structure of your site, of your pages. But there's, I mean, this is just a few. You could make up almost anything here. So now we're coming to something that's really my pet peeve, is the visual assets. So authentic content may be king, but visuals are what make your site instantly relatable. And they're also what drive engagement and ultimately revenue and donations for nonprofits. So being really clear about with your visuals, and not just slapping up anything, you know, have a strategy for it so that there's some consistency with your visuals. And I'm going to show you several now, just to give you some examples. Oh, there's some great facts here. The human attention span is approximately 8 seconds. So that's why you literally on a page, right? But the other thing I wanted to mention about websites is, you know, what you see, depending on what, whether you're on a desktop or a tablet or a mobile phone, that first bit at the top that's visual, we call that above the fold or below the fold, which is an old newspaper term, actually. When they used to fold the newspaper to send it out and shove it through your mailbox, like what's above the fold is obviously the title of the newspaper, the date, and that top article that's the headliner, right? So same thing on your website, be really clear about what's above the fold. Is it engaging? Does it encourage them to read further down or do something on your site? All of these things. And you've got a few seconds to do that. So, so visuals are processed at 60,000 times faster than text. So that means a visual's worth about 60,000 words. That's pretty wild when you think about it. Color, that's pretty obvious. 1 minute of video more powerful than 1.8 million words, because this is the world we live in. We live in a visual world these days. So I'm going to talk about what makes a compelling image. Is it relevant? Is it relevant to the content, to the organization? It should have a fairly obvious tie-in to your mission or a specific post. The image you choose, it should be eye-catching, interesting, appealing. Remember the banner image on the top of your website page, that's again above the fold. That's going to be key to encouraging people to scroll down the page or navigate the entire site. If you choose one that's boring and unremarkable, you risk losing those people right away. These photographs are actually from our website, Hedaya website. They're taken by my friend and partner, co-founder in Hedaya, Jennifer McDonald, and she's got a great eye for visual storytelling. Obviously, we work with refugee children, so these are all pretty compelling in that regard. Context is important. Show photographs that provide context. Not everything does. In the top left, you can see the focus is on specific elements of a war-torn area. Can you imagine? And we put that there because it encourages people to imagine sitting in that armchair in what was once someone's living room. Obviously, not anymore, but it's a bit more relatable than the general overhead shot right below of the camp, although that does show how, you know, the expanse and how many are there. Just also another thing that I recommend is grouping several photos together that provide context and impact. So that's another thing that you can do on a website. Faces. There's been a lot of research about the effectiveness of people and images in marketing. Maybe it's that we're just human beings and simply enjoy looking at other human beings, finding them relatable and curious, but it likely has more to do with the fact that people and faces are just very familiar to us, so we instantly relate. Human photos have a positive impact on the trustworthiness of a site and therefore the organization. So faces can help increase conversions, which is important. If yours is a human interest story, choosing the right faces is imperative. Just remember that. Also color. visceral reactions are some of the strongest connections we can make to visual content. And one of the ways to drive these visceral reactions is with color choice. A study from Georgia Tech looked at 1 million Pinterest images for the color trends between the highest and lowest shared images. And they found that red, purple, and pink promote sharing. Green, black, blue, and yellow all stop people from sharing. The thinking was that the three highly shared colors, red, purple, and pink, are tied to visceral emotions. And the overall takeaway is that the color makes for a huge portion of an image's success, and therefore its relatability and effectiveness in telling your story. It's just it's interesting to note, that's all. If your whole site is black and white, well, if you're a black and white photographer, then I totally get it. But like, if not, then think about the use of color. Also on your website, and particularly for social media posting, understanding the contrast of your image and the positioning of your image. If you want to add or overlay text or a catchy quote or an announcement, then don't put it over a busy photo. So I think this is pretty obvious, this, not that. And pick, colors that suit your branding and the theme of your website. This kind of thing will instantly make you look a lot more professional. I've seen some pretty bad choices in this stuff. Stock photography. So not all stock photography is created equal. So here's a photo on the left of a professional woman in a modern office posing naturally, maybe not posing at all, interacting with someone off camera, and there's somebody cropped right there, versus the one on the right, which is a pretty typical cheesy stock photography photo of professionals in suits all smiling at the camera. This feels cold. It's a bit stark. People are all in suits. It doesn't look natural at all. So if you're wanting to show, let's say, talk about your nonprofit and share about the employees, for instance, don't have them all pose in front of a window like that. In fact, this is obviously this is such a setup, this photo, because they do have light on their face, but behind them are all these bright windows. So typically they would be, it would be washed out and their faces would be dark. So that obviously they have lighting on them, professional lighting. So just a few of these, this, not that, just to give you some examples of what to use. This one I love. I found this in a news article in a newspaper in Arizona. They were talking about the water problem. And this on the left is the photo that they chose. It's pretty terrible to describe, the problem. They could have picked something like this. This is one I found. So just, just be thoughtful about what you choose, particularly in this day and age, because visual content is everything. If you're going to use infographics, here's a great example of a nice, clean, clear infographic. Data-driven visual storytelling, basically. And these can be really useful, particularly to nonprofits. If you've got some stats that you want to share, put them into an infographic, make it visual, but make it clear and easy to read. If it's too, like this one over here with the police cars, way too busy, what does it all mean? It's taking me too long to figure that out. Whereas this one on the left is just easy and clear. By the way, I want to say 99%, other than photographs that were taken by my friend Jennifer, all of these photos came from a free stock photography site called Unsplash. And there are lots of free stock photography things. Be really clear about what you use if you're using stock photography. You have to give a credit a lot of the time. Sometimes you don't. These you don't from Unsplash, but other sites you do have to use credits. If you download something from Google, oh, this looks great, this will fit, someone's going to find that eventually, and you may be liable for a lawsuit for illegal usage, or you'll be slapped with a copyright or something like that. So be really clear and do not download from Google. Go to an actual stock photography site. So that's websites. We're going to move on to, we're about halfway through. Does anyone need a bathroom break or a question or anything? Should I keep going, Yinting? Just keep going. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you're up for it, let's keep going.
I'll have a drink of water. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is more talking than I do in a week, pretty much. Okay, so let's move on to social media, which is a great way to market, but you have to be really clear once again about what you're conveying. You also have to be willing to stay the course and be consistent, because it's something that you've got to do on a regular basis. So social media success is also going to come from being well prepared and planning, as well as listening to trends and being spontaneous. Just like the websites, you're going to want to choose your tools carefully. You often hear that you have to be on every site, but that's not true. You just have to use the tools that serve your business or organization the best and help you reach your goals. Don't listen to the hype. Choose your social media tools wisely and with intention. So these are the most widely used and fastest growing social media platforms. But remember, you can't learn everything at once. And each new tool is going to require like 30 to 90 days of just having fun and exploring before you feel super comfortable in it. It's better to have one channel that you use well and get results than to have many tools you use poorly and get no results. And you can always add more tools to your toolkit later. So let's continue. One of the first questions that you want to ask yourself if you are heading up an organization is, what do you or your team realistically have time for? Who's going to create and post that content? Who can respond to the comments? Could be all one person, or it could be several people. Who has time to engage with other pages and accounts? Remember what I mentioned earlier, you need to know what your peers and your competitors are doing. Connecting and viewing and responding, it all takes time. You need to review your tracking and your reports on performance. Like, you need to know that stuff, not just kind of blindly put it out there. Because if you've got a platform that you're not getting any results on, why would you keep wasting your time doing that? Find another platform that works better. So, being realistic about this will serve you down the road. Might be a tough conversation to have. And at the end of it, you might come out of it, well, hell, it's just me. Like, if I'm going to be the one doing it all, then I've got to be realistic about what my time constraints are. And if you like Facebook and you're already on it and you hate Instagram, don't feel you have to use Instagram, or vice versa. Be realistic. That's all I'm saying. Your existing customers and supporters. Yeah, as I mentioned, where do your audiences spend time online? That's a key question as well. You could ask your current customers. You could send them a simple 3 to 5 question survey. That might be something that you could put in an email newsletter of a quick survey. Hey, be honest up front. Hey, we're trying to narrow down our focus on where you'd like to see our stories or hear about us more. Where do you hang out online? Whatever your questions are, something that doesn't require much typing for them, like a multiple choice or yes or no questions. Find out what social media networks they prefer, what kind of groups they hang out in, or events, that kind of thing. You can use free services like Google Forms, which is part of Google Drive, or SurveyMonkey, any of those things. Ask them, what made them choose you? Why did you hey, pick some of your top donors and send them a really nice, friendly newsletter or email, personalize it, always personalize it. What made them choose you? What made them donate? Get some feedback from your current customers, your existing customers, or your existing supporters. They're going to be a really great, they're part of your marketing toolkit, basically. Looking at you definitely want to review what's producing results and what's not for you. Again, this will help you hone in on what to use or what not to use. If you've already been doing social media, you can access tracking systems like Facebook Insights, Instagram has Insights, Twitter Analytics, Pinterest has the same, and you can review your performance. If you have a website with Google Analytics, that will also give you a lot of social media content, statistics and where your traffic's coming from. So there are 5 main pieces of data that you want to understand well. How much reach or how many impressions basically is your content getting? How much engagement is your content getting? How many likes or followers do you get on a regular basis? Also, knowing what is your most popular content will help you, because then you can build out a whole story around that. What are the top ways you define success? This is really important, I think, for a nonprofit. Is it from your engagement? Is it from sales or donations? Is it newsletter signups? Is social media contributing to any of that? Be really clear. Also remember that social media runs on algorithms and artificial intelligence, that old AI thing that's coming up everywhere right now. So these technologies are always in a state of change and hopefully improvement. Be prepared for social media platforms to add and remove features, change their layouts, adjust how their news feeds work on a monthly basis. If you ask any social media manager or content creator, they will tell you the same. You must be willing to learn new things regularly. So it is a time commitment and a mental commitment. It's just part of digital marketing these days. And this one's important. Plan to be spontaneous. It will help you stay engaged if spontaneity is part of it and you want to stay engaged. Because that's social media requires that. And also, so does your nonprofit, your organization requires that. Stay engaged. It's critical to building and maintaining relationships with your audience. And if you remember that earlier, the relationship building is the key piece of all of this marketing. You want to be building relationships with people, just like you build relationships with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community. Like, this is just a different way of communicating it over the internet, but it's about relationships. So you want to make sure you always respond to comments in a timely manner, even if they're negative. It shows that you're listening and paying attention. And I think that's what we all want from our relationships. This spontaneity thing, making time to document what's happening. Maybe it doesn't seem that exciting at the time, in the moment, in the office, but hey, you might be able to use that content later, or you could add some kind of fun graphic to it. Video and reels, Instagram reels, are the fastest growing element of social media right now. So definitely incorporating some video and some, quick 30-second reel of something that's pertinent. Those are going to be important. It's my favorite. Social media doesn't give you relevance, storytelling does. It's the storytelling that people relate to, not, how many followers you've got and that kind of thing. It's the content. So content and post management. So you can see that this is an average frequency plan. And so you're definitely going to need a system, because it's a lot to keep track of. It doesn't really matter what you choose, from project management apps that simplify and improve communications, like Asana, Trello, or Slack, to social media management tools, those that track posts and analytics and everything else. That would be things like Hootsuite, HubSpot, CoSchedule, Buffer. All of these that I've mentioned have a free basic plan. And if you're going to go with any of these programs, just go with the free basic plan and use that until you've outused that. Don't start paying for something while you learn it. Learn on the free, and when you outgrow that, then you can consider, do I want to upgrade and pay for it? If it comes, certainly for post management, you could also just put a simple Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet together. They can be your friend as well. You don't have to pay for those. You could, you know, days of the week and put in. I'm going to show you on the next slide here what a calendar, a social media calendar looks like. You could just do this in a spreadsheet. You've got the different days of the week. You've got some kind of national holidays or things that you want to highlight maybe at the top. And then here's a Facebook post and a Twitter post. On that day, on Monday, they do one Facebook post and, you know, one Twitter post, or it could be 3 Facebook posts. Maybe that's all you're using. If you're using several different things, you know, over here is a LinkedIn. You might, for nonprofits, I would definitely suggest LinkedIn be part of your marketing, your digital marketing. And you're going to want to put up something professional up there about your organization, or it could be a really interesting article that you read that is relevant to your mission, what you do. Hey, I found this fascinating. I wanted to share it. Let me know what you think. It could be as simple as that. But keeping track of it all is going to be a nightmare and a headache, and very quickly, like, oh my God, I can't even keep track of this. So you won't. And then you're like, I'm done, I'm overwhelmed. And that's so easy to get to that point. So the more you prepare and plan and get organized, the simpler your life will be. So these are my top 10 tips for social media. Right off the bat, know your purpose. Like, not just your nonprofit purpose. I'm like, what's your purpose in using social media? What are you wanting to get? Do you want to get, are you looking to just increase your followers? Are you looking to get actual physical donations? Are you just looking to build your community? You know, write down your goals and be clear about those and specific about those. Choose the right tools and platforms. Keep it simple. Start with 1 or 2. Keep it super simple, something that you can manage, that you're not going to get overwhelmed with. Create the content bank, as I said earlier on, a running document of all kinds of content, and a folder full of photos, another one full of some videos or reels. So you've got, when you go into your calendar, you're like, oh yeah, it's Mother's Day, it's May, it's Mother's Day, and this is relevant to us because to our organization. So get clear about that, and then create some content around that, and some photograph, pull photographs from your, you know, from your folder, and content from your document. And then schedule your social media in advance. That will save you lots of headaches and lots of like, oh my God, it's Monday, I have to post, what? You know, and instantly you've got a resistance to doing it because you're like, oh God, what am I going to come up with? If you've got a plan and you've got some content already in your little folder there, and the plan says, hey, on Mondays I post this and this, you know, you're already telling yourself what to do. It's just making your life a lot easier. Hashtag research. So the hashtag is, you know, an Instagram thing, well, a social media thing, but mostly Instagram. You know, do some research into what kinds of hashtags are relevant to you, your organization, your story, and use them, because basically it opens up. If your hashtag is, I don't know, single mothers who work, or whatever the hashtag is, you know, look up how many of those people are following that hashtag, and do the research in it and start using them. Think from a, oops, excuse me, wrong one. Think from a multimedia perspective. So I do want to remind you that these short videos and reels are the fastest growing element of social media right now. Again, our attention span gets shorter and shorter these days. And so being able to see a quick video and you know, have somebody like, oh, that was really cool, and then you have a call to action on that video of like, here, click here, or right below it, or whatever, you know, that's going to drive traffic and engage people. So do think about using those. Learn to use your tracking tools. Like I said, if you've been posting on Facebook for a year and you're not getting any results, why are you still using it? Pick another platform and try it. If you're delegating social media, make sure you have policies and plans in place. You know, be clear. If you're handing that off to someone to do, someone outside of the organization, perhaps. Give them clear directives. Hey, I don't want any photographs of this in there. I don't want any mention of that, or I do want you to mention this. Be really clear about what your policies are, because otherwise you're setting them up for failure and to mess with your organization if you're not clear about what works and what doesn't. And last but not least, make sure you keep all your passwords in a safe place. That's a big one, and I hear that a lot. I've forgotten my password. Forgot my password. Use a password program, because I must have thousands of damn passwords now. How can you possibly keep track of that? You can't, and people don't. Handwriting it on a piece of paper is not really going to serve anymore. Find a password program like LastPass or 1Password. And there's others out there. Those are the two that I know and use. And just start using it. You know, get past the learning curve the first week and just start using it. And once you do, download the app integration into Chrome or whatever browser you use, and it will automatically, once you turn it on, you put in your 1Password, and it will find the password for that website that you're on or that social media account that you're in, and it will automatically put it in, so you don't have to remember them. It's huge, and it will massively change your life. So that's one of my biggest tips. Okay, so now, what about advertising? Does it really make a difference for nonprofits? And the answer is a resounding yes, but you've got to be smart about the how, where, and when. And there is a wealth of information out there on social media advertising, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, going over all of it, but I can offer a few guidelines. So your social media ads, paid advertising, can increase click-throughs, purchases, leads, support, donations, or just the growth of your fan base. It can increase your reach and impressions, and your general engagement. Every time you run an ad campaign on social media, though, or simply boost a post, you want to ask yourself, who am I talking to? Who, again, this comes back to the audiences again. Who am I talking to? Who do I want to engage with this ad? So just be really clear about that. If you're hoping to connect with a variety of audiences, then make sure you create a campaign with multiple ads. This way you can change the text and the images to match the audience that you want to attract. So the more time you spend digging into your audiences and what you think they want to hear, see, relate to, the more successful your, the more relevant and compelling those ads are, therefore the more successful they're likely to be. So these are the two main differences. Paid search helps your target audiences find your business or your organization. Paid social campaigns help your business or organization find potential customers. So it's important to understand the differences of those and what you want to do. This might also define which platform you use, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. So you want to get clear on the goal for each of your ads. And there's multiple kinds of ads, obviously, we talked about that. So clear on your ads, on the goals, and clear on your target for your specific audience. And then you want to track it and test and adjust, test and adjust, test and adjust. The more you do that, the more honed in your advertising becomes and the more successful it's likely to be. You can test an ad on Facebook for $10 or even $1. So you're not going to have to write a grant for that. You can do it fairly cheaply. Test, 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 and adjust. That's really big advice. Some of the best advice. Again, be clear about your core message. What is it that, don't just put up a pretty face. Oh, here's a picture of some kids, because like our nonprofit supports kids. Like, that's too generic. You want to be really clear about the kind of kids or what you're doing to support those kids. What do you want what do you want the motivator to be? Because again, donations and purchases are emotionally based, so you want them to connect. These are just some tips for social media ads. So top social media platforms. So obviously Facebook, you know, I'd start there because they're the biggest platform out there. And so if you're going to do any advertising, and also they've got the advertising piece down fairly well, you can put out test ads for fairly, you know, for not much money. Test it. If you don't get any response at all, try a different ad or a different image or a different message. Test, test, test. And once you start getting some results on one of them, then use that, or, you know, hone the message some more. Yeah, Facebook still has the largest amount of users over any other social media, almost 3 billion. Wow. I also want to mention boosting existing posts. So the best advice I can give you there is there's absolutely no point boosting an ad until you already have some initial organic engagement to that post. Like if you've got 5 likes on a post, why are you going to bother spending money to boost that ad? Wait till there's some engagement. Obviously there's traction and some engagement. You want that first. You want to know that the ad is, and your content is relevant and compelling. And then once they bite, you can engage and play along for a while. You can respond authentically, ask questions. People love to give opinions. Let's not forget that. And then you can spend money on boosting it and do that some more. Don't forget, social media doesn't give you relevance. Storytelling does. Oops, excuse me. The final thing I wanted to briefly discuss is budgeting. I know this is always a sore point for nonprofits, particularly, but social media ads are one of the most affordable advertising options out there. Certainly if you compare it to other media like TV, radio, or even print. I mean, you could do, you know, the sky could be the limit on it, but before you start doing that, I would suggest a very small budget to test an experiment for like 60 to 90 days and use that time to explore and learn what's working, what's not. And again, hone in, test and adjust, test and adjust. So these are just a few really simple kind of starting budgets. If you're in an industry that has a lot of social media competition, or you live near or in a larger metro area with more online competition, you might need to increase the budget. So they are sort of specific based on location, industry, and platform. So these are just some kind of minimal budgets at the moment that I've recommended. You just, again, minimal budget, 60 to 90 days with clear focus, test and adjust, so you know what works and what doesn't. So learn by doing, again. But hopefully the process can be kind of fun. You might make some really cool connections during it and help grow your organization. So that's the main thing. All right. So now we're going to move on to email marketing, which is still ranked as a very, very effective marketing channel. In fact, it beats out social media, SEO, and affiliate marketing. And a big key reason for that is because you've got people who've already bought in, who are your audience. So it comes in many forms. Some companies have email newsletter systems and signups on their website. Some have relationship management tools. Other times it might be a sheet of paper, you know, where you have people leave their email if you're doing events in the community, that kind of thing. So just use all and any tools at your disposal. That's the word I was looking for. So the first thing about email newsletters is that permission is everything, is really, really important. The number one rule of email marketing is that people must choose to be on your list. Opting in is one of the most important actions a current or potential customer, client, or donor can take. Opt-ins make people a true inbound market. When they don't opt in and you send them emails, you're essentially spamming them, and that's illegal. So you'll definitely want to avoid doing that. Also, when people choose to be on your list, it becomes more valuable because it's made up of people who actually want to know what's happening with your organization and want more information about your services. Make sure you adhere to any legal requirements and laws in your area when sending automated emails, like the CAN-SPAM Act in the United States, the Canadian anti-spam law, or the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. These regulations are based on both your location and the location of your subscribers, and it's your responsibility to know which laws apply to you. So what do you do about opt-ins? Opt-ins are, for an example, here's one in the top right. This would be an opt-in on a website. So start by using your preferred email marketing software, and then or your website, and then you place opt-in forms around your website. So when they click on this subscribe, you want it to go and add their email automatically to a list somewhere, whether that's through your website or it downloads to a Google spreadsheet, whatever you use. So you want to put these opt-ins in like all over your site. But again, not too much. You don't want to overblow that and sort of annoy people. But here's some logical places. You definitely want one on the homepage. It may be in your website footer, definitely in a blog or a sidebar. It could be a pop-up on your website, although I particularly am averse to that being the very first thing that pops up on a homepage. I want to know, am I interested in, I want to read the homepage a little bit before you blast me with that pop-up. So try not to do that right off the bat. And you can offer an incentive to get people to subscribe. Hey, we'll give you a 10% discount, or we'll give you a free download, or something along those lines. Building your list. I want to say I start this off with don't buy email lists. Please don't, because the majority of email lists for sale out there these days, there are some companies that are kosher and do that, but a lot of them are selling, forwarding on emails that have been hacked from people's websites, or stolen accounts and that kind of thing. And so it's just like marketing companies, email companies like MailChimp, Constant Contact, they have strict permission-based policies when it comes to this kind of thing. So they probably won't let you use a purchase list, because we all know these days that those are doubtful at best, that where those emails came from. Typically, those didn't come from people opting in. So it's bad for your engagement, it's bad for your conversion rates, but it can also get you blocked or marked as a spam by email providers. And then you could be screwed if you're stuck, you can't send out emails. So don't buy lists. It's going to make a mess of everything. Use email to have a conversation. Consider taking an occasional break from your regular marketing content to send out a survey, or just tell your customers or donors how much you appreciate them, or just say hello. Be real, be conversational. People appreciate it's about building a relationship. Don't always hit me over the head with a hey, we need money for this now. So only send when you need to. Once someone's trusted you with their email address, don't abuse that trust. So flooding, your audience's inbox with superfluous emails will cause them to lose interest or unsubscribe. If you send them, 3 emails a week, I'm going to instantly unsubscribe from that. So just be clear about that. What would you appreciate or not appreciate? Types of emails that can help you build your list. Obviously, a welcome to customers, or welcome. We see that, you can offer them different things. Use it as an introduction to your business. Newsletters, obviously these are the most popular. Usually there'll be a call to action in that newsletter to move them to do something, whether that's to click on a link to go somewhere else on your website, or check out a product, or potentially donate. Lead nurturing. These target specific audiences through a series of emails in the hope of eventually converting them. So typically, lead nurturing emails are going to focus on a group that's interested in your service or something. And then you build their interest more and more through, additional information or relevant promotions. The goal is to push them from consideration stage to purchase or donation stage. Confirmation emails, for those, if they sign up for your email, have an automatic response that says, thank you, we appreciate that. You know, this is the confirmation email. It shows that you're listening. Dedicated. If you want to reach out to only a portion of your email list, this is called a dedicated email. And it may be based on recent purchases, or it could be inactive clients, new members, other specific types of criteria. Invite emails, often announcing upcoming events, new product launches and seminars, promotional emails, survey emails, seasonal marketing emails, pretty obvious. Track your data. So again, you want to know, is it worth it? Am I wasting my time doing these things? A wide variety of newsletter platforms are available out there, but I think MailChimp and Constant Contact are two of the most well-known. Also Squarespace, for instance, which is actually a website platform. It also has a really nice, fully integrated email newsletter add-on. And I have lots of my clients who actually use that successfully. Yeah, use the basic tracking that comes with that, whichever platform. You're going to want to look at your click-through rate, how many people clicked on links in your newsletter, the open rate, how many people actually opened the email and looked at it, and then the number of new subscribers and unsubscribes. You can also segment your email marketing list, and you can send them to those segments, you know, specific information that relates to them. MailChimp's latest user data showed that segmented campaigns get 14.5% more opens and almost 65% more clicks than non-segmented campaigns. So segmented are going to be based on things like demographics or email engagement. Have they engaged in the past or not engaged? You know, the geographic area, industry, personal interests and preferences. Could be that they've donated in the past. So I only want to send to those who've donated in the past, or I only want to send to those who've never donated, but they are on our list. You know, those kinds of things. Make it personal, definitely personal. Think about you talking to your neighbor or someone in your community and speak to them that way. Okay, so we're at the end of that presentation. However, I have two more slides that I want to share with you. I want to let you know about a really great program that teaches everything that we have discussed today in a 90-day in-depth course focused purely on digital marketing. But each of these areas that I have skimmed over pretty much, here's the next slide. Each of these areas I've skimmed over we go into, and this is a program that I'm part of. I help design it, I help teach it, I help run it. It's called Tactics, and we have it on an app on the phone, or you can download a desktop version of it and use it that way. And if you sign up for it, again, it's a 90-day course, and it goes into every area in depth. There will be lessons in Instagram basics, how to make reels, what to do with them. There'll be Facebook you know, things, lessons. There will be website content planning and best practices. There will be how to do Google business listings. There will be online sales, how to create a sales funnel, sales strategies. It goes into everything in really in-depth digital marketing. And because we are grant funded right now through the Sequoia Fund, this was originally designed for the Native community, which is why we had to create an app, because they are challenged with Wi-Fi a lot of the time, typically a very underserved community. So we created an app that they can take the course on their phones. Because we're grant funded for a little while longer, it's very, very affordable at the moment. The seats are only $150, which is kind of crazy. And the next cohort starts May 17th, so that's soon. After that, the price will be going up considerably. So I'm not trying to do a hard sell on you. I'm just letting you know the facts. If any of this that I talked about today is of interest and you're like, oh my God, I really need to know more, but this was like, I'm overwhelmed, or I need to go through it step by step, I highly, highly, highly recommend this. And I'm not just doing a sell on it because I'm involved in it. It's just been so useful and so fabulous to so many people. And the next cohort starts in a couple of weeks. So if you sign up, you know, you'll get emails from us, and then we'll invite you to an onboarding to help you explore the app and show you a bit more of what's going to be in the course, all of that. So that's it from me. Oh my God, there's 10 minutes to spare. How can that be?
Amazing.
Oh my God. I'm kind of amazed that I got through all of that under the time. Darn.
Truly amazing, Vanessa. A lot of great information. I know that it probably sparked a lot of ideas for all of you. Again, it is a lot of information. A lot of this determines your capacity, your readiness to take on some of these things. So please know this recording, the slide deck will continue to be available to you when or if you're ready down the road, if not now. We do have one question while we have some time that I hope we can address. It was around LinkedIn. I think one of the slides around the digital advertising showed that LinkedIn wasn't on the list. So can you talk a little bit more about recommending?
I do highly recommend being on LinkedIn, particularly for a nonprofit. And I probably just an oversight. I probably need to add a slide in there and talk about it a little bit more. I highly recommend being on LinkedIn. It's a professional, obviously, you know what it is. It's a professional connection, but it's still a marketing platform, and people are using it more and more in that regard. So as long as it's professional, and relating to your nonprofit, I would definitely start using that and putting posts up there. Once again, come back to your website. If you can, have everything come from your website and post to, you know, create your blog or create something and post to. If you don't do that, at least if you just put a post up on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, have a link to your website so that it links back to it. You want to get that traffic circle happening. I definitely recommend LinkedIn, and people are using it more and more these days. So, yeah. Somebody has a question about canned spam.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, thank you. Okay, so I notice this a lot. When I sign up to purchase a product from someone's website or I make a donation, automatically I'm added to their email marketing. That's not the same, is it? But they do it anyway. Is that in violation of canned spam? It
should be, honestly, I know I see that happen a lot. In theory, there should be like two-step verification. There should be a checkbox that says, I opt in or I accept going on your email list. People do it. If you buy from me, sure, I'm going to put you on the email list. However, there should, I don't know if it's legal yet. Sorry, I don't know exactly the answer to that. I don't know if it's legal, but like permission wise, there should be a checkbox that says I accept, or uncheck the box. I don't.
But they don't do that because you're.
But
just,
people don't do
and
that.
We should not. We should not do that. We should be better about it.
You should do better. It's coming, and so yeah, we should do. If you know, you should do better. And so yeah, will you be offering the tactics cohort after August? There has been some talk about doing one in September or January. We've been going at it for a couple of years since we built it, and we want to take a few months off to kind of assess some things and rework the curriculum a little bit. So I have a feeling it might not be till January now. So there's that. I can't say for sure, but do you want my email? And you can shoot me an email.
Yeah, I will. I'll be sending a follow-up email just to notify everyone, the recording and everything is up in Box. Vanessa, if you want to share the deck and your contact information, I can include that into the email.
There you go. There's my email. If you want to reach out to me and ask me any questions about this, I'm totally open to that. If you need help figuring out your digital marketing toolkit, if you need help figuring out your website, that's what I do for a living. If you need help trying to make a plan, I do consulting. I do all of these things. Obviously, you know, I'm doing this. So please feel free to reach out to me and let me see how I can help support you, because that's what I like to do best. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I know a lot of you have been talking about the websites and social media in your first mentor meeting. So Vanessa is actually one of Aparo's vetted vendors, from Expert Link that we talked about. So I know we've connected, I think maybe one of you already with Vanessa.
Is there anyone here from Barbell? Is it called Barbell, the
Yeah, I
website?
think it's Barbell.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi there. Yes, I think we got connected and I sent an email. So if I can help you with that, let me know.
Thank you so much. I'll be contacting you.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to say hi since we're on the call.
Yeah.
Here.
So again, that offer is open to all of you. If you do want to connect with Vanessa as a vendor, please do let us know. We do want to continue to
Yes,
these things.
yes. Please let Yenting know, or contact Yenting directly and she'll put you in touch with me. Any of that. I'm just offering, if you do have questions about the presentation or anything, I'm here for you.
Perfect.
Well, I hope that was helpful. I'm sure you're all a bit overwhelmed with all the information and all the things in there, but and you'll probably need to go back and rewatch that at some point and pause and start.
Absolutely.
But,
well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for your time, for the effort you put into creating this amazing presentation. We do really much appreciate all the things that you've done for this cohort.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, so like I said, I'll include your information in that. If you guys have any questions, we'll
send questions to Yenting, and then she'll forward those to me, and I'll shoot out some answers and hopefully get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your attention today. It's nice to see some smiling faces out there. And until next time.
Thank you, Vanessa. So
bye-bye.
Everyone hops off really quickly. Next week is the second mentor meeting. I will be sure to include that passcode in the email so that hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother. But again, if you can arrive 5 minutes earlier, you know how it was last time. It takes me a little time in case I need to manually move you. I will also, once this session closes, a survey should pop up. Please do take a moment to fill that out. Again, we're trying to improve this program, and so your feedback is super important. Other than that, I think that's it. While I have you, any questions directly for me around this program, I'll be happy to answer. Okay, awesome. Well, you guys know how to reach me if you need me. Other than that, I will see you next Wednesday. Have a good rest of the week.